Welcome to the Wrestling Universe channel. My name is Cosk. I am joined by Y2 Wrestling, and today we will be reviewing the 9th August 2023 edition of AEW Dynamite. How are you doing today, Y2?
I'm doing good. The road to All In is heating up, and it's heating up fast. We got some things to talk about.
And let's get right into it. We don't want to waste people's time. We start off with the JAS Summit. I'm going to hand the ball over to you. What did you think of this segment?
I thought it was interesting. It didn't really go the way I expected it to. It was kind of Jericho didn't really speak at all. It was the individual members of the Appreciation Society just reaming Jericho basically for not being there for him. Hager bringing up his hat, the emotional storytelling, a man in his hat. Fortunately, it looks like we've reached the conclusion on that one. But everybody, one by one, walking out of the ring, Ty Conte suggesting that she's going to come back and win a title. Sammy Guevara leaving the door open. I don't know what that specifically means. Maybe Jericho decides against Callis next week and sticks with Sammy. I don't know. But the Jericho Appreciation Society is finished. It is no more in this current form. Jericho got absolutely cooked.
Yeah, man. I mean, this segment was very formulaic in the sense that you could kind of sense the formula. One member speaks, they leave. Another member speaks, they leave. Another member speaks, they leave, and so forth. But I feel like everybody did a really good job in the sense that not a lot of people cared about this, right? When the JAS was ending and people heard about it, they were like, okay, it's the JAS. It hasn't really mattered in months, but I feel like every member showed how much it means to them. Daniel Garcia had this segment. He talked about how he betrayed his friends and heroes to join Jericho, and then even there's this little dance over this.
Probably the most heartfelt one to me was Matt Menard bringing up the real life circumstances of him getting laid off.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Menard did a great job, and even talking about Kevin Cena and Eddie Kingston hating him, although that's in kayfabe. And let's call back to Kevin Steen, by the way. The Kevin Owens Jericho feud was big in the WWE a few years back. I think Cool Hands Luke did a great job too. Like, he had a really good promo. Jake Hager had a fine promo. I'm not like the biggest Jake Hager fan, I'm gonna be honest, but he did an alright job.
Lucha Underground World Champ.
No. That's slander against everything that is right. Other than that, I mean, Anna Jay and Ty Conti did a fine job. Nothing crazy. Ty kind of insinuating that this is the last we're going to see of her for a while. I mean, and then all
that makes sense.
Yeah, of course she's pregnant. And then all that was left is Sammy Guevara, who really started all of this, if you really look back. Of course, Jericho was the one who started the fall, but the splitting up of the JAS started when Sammy Guevara went face, and then started tension with Jericho. So I was really surprised that he didn't leave. But at the same time, even though I really wanted to leave the JAS, I like this for two reasons. For one, to me, this doesn't set up them coming back together. This sets them up coming back together for a small bit, realizing it doesn't work, and then leading into a feud. Or never coming back at all. I think this sets up a feud where they're still like close with each other, but they just kind of have to. Sammy just has to put the Ocho down due to circumstances that he doesn't want to be a part of. Yeah, I feel like this is a really big moment for the JAS. It's no more. I feel like everybody in this segment did a great job. And I think Sammy Guevara versus Chris Jericho is a big money pay-per-view match in the future, and this is the planting seeds for that. But this wasn't the last we saw of Jericho, as Jericho would have a promo after this where he would be confronted by Don Callis. Callis would apologize, saying if this is any of his fault, but he would say that Jericho would say that he'll make his decision next week whether to join, and really insinuating that he will join. Do you think this is a swerve, or do you think Jericho will be joining the Don Callis family?
I mean, they definitely left at least a teaser with the Sammy thing earlier that maybe Jericho won't, because Jericho, I feel like this opening segment really put Jericho in a unique position. During his AEW run, he hasn't been in a position like this where he was walking back sadly, like almost remorse, and then Don Callis pops up. So I mean, I guess there's room for swerve, though. I think Jericho will join.
Me too. I feel like the only way a swerve would work is if instead of Ospreay Jericho, you do Jericho Takeshita, and Takeshita wins. I think a win against Jericho, even though Jericho isn't the man he once was in the ring, still means a lot. He's still the first world champion. He's still one of the most recognizable names in the company, so Takeshita getting a win over Chris Jericho would be big. However, not having Jericho join feels like you may be wasting the people's time for the Omega feud, because Don Callis still has to find people for his family. So will he just find people immediately, or will he go through this process again? Do you have any final thoughts on the Jericho JS stuff?
No.
We move on to the Young Bucks versus the Hardy Boys, or the Hardys. This was a match, for lack of a better term, didn't really live up to its previous matches, the previous matches these two have had, because the Hardys aren't the team they once were. But I'll talk about my thoughts more later. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, no, it was all right to pretty good. Not, I mean, when you think of these two teams, two of the greatest tag teams of all time, they've had great matches in the past. But, as you stated the obvious, that the Hardys are just not the same team anymore. They can't really go like they did. I mean, I still thought it was well worked, and the crowd heat, like the noise, was still good. My favorite part of the match, honestly, was the Young Bucks doing the 3D just as a tribute to the Dudley Boys. Just tribute to the old, like the rivalries of the past. Clever. I mean, there's nothing really much to say about that. The Young Bucks. They the super kicks. I think the overall point of the match was just to be a nice momentum win, leading to their big bout with FTR.
And I will say, while I was quite negative on the match early on, I do feel like it picked up as the match went on. Like, it started off really slow, kind of boring, I'll be honest. But then it kind of hit second gear, and I feel like it was an alright match. I feel like the Hardys did some solid stuff, nothing crazy, but they alright veteran work. And the Young Bucks really carried the match with like the spam super kicks and the 3D, as you mentioned, and like a lot of fun stuff from the Hardys. The super kick that had Jeff Hardy fall from doing the Whisper in the Wind, which I thought was a great bump by Jeff. I was like genuinely worried for him. But yeah, as you said, Bucks win. Not like a crazy match. It's kind of sad to see the Hardys in this state, but hey, I don't hate the Hardys as much as most people. I quite sympathize with Jeff Hardy actually, and I do hope he manages to finish his story the way his legacy has deserved. But I feel like they need to find something else for the Hardys. Perhaps a retirement run to make people appreciate seeing them in the ring more, because if they're just a team on the roster, they're not going to care much about the Hardys match because they're just not the team they once were. But if this is the last of, 10 matches the Hardys are going to have, the last of 9 matches, and it's counting down to the last match of the Hardys' career, and they're just going to these like dream matches, then you care about the Hardys, and I feel like that's what Jeff Hardy deserves for his legacy. That's what Matt Hardy deserves for his legacy too.
Well, okay, so the more important thing was what happened in the post-match. Young Bucks were like FTR. FTR comes out. The two teams stand off. Crowds chanting all in. This is setting up the biggest tag team match of all time. The two biggest teams, 80,000 people plus in the stadium. Who do you think should win?
For one, not the two biggest teams because the Motor City Machine Guns aren't there, and I will stand them till the day I die. But other than that, to be serious, I mean, God, this is an anyone can win match, but like, I genuinely can't predict who I think will win. But who I want to win is FTR simply because while I would love another Young Bucks reign, FTR after a disappointing start are just getting their tag title reign back on track. They're just getting their wins back. They're getting wins against the likes of MJF and Adam Cole, wins against Bullet Club Gold, wins against Big Bill and Brian Cage, and these matches are genuinely good to great. To, in the case of Bullet Club Gold, phenomenal. And I feel like the reign is just starting to pick up, so I don't really want it to end. What about you?
My prediction is a 60-minute time limit draw.
Oh.
Though I know there's some theories on if everything's all right between the Elite and CMFTR, that maybe CM Punk screws them out of the belt or they do some angle that could lead to a big money making trios match. But my gut, because I don't know how to feel like I know like a trilogy, but I don't know who should win that match because these two teams are regarded as the best tag team in the world in AEW, and in the minds of certain fans, that's their opinion that these are the best teams. So the Young Bucks have won the first match at Full Gear. FTR won the second match at Dynamite. A win in this trilogy, you could arguably say, means that's the best team of all time, at least in kayfabe. So I don't know. Even if I was the booker, I don't know who I would pick to win that match. I mean, personally, I'd probably do the Young Bucks because they're my favorite tag team. But it's like this trilogy. I think a draw just because I don't know if you would want a team to get that definitive win at the moment.
You think they're going to set this up for more stuff to come later?
No, I don't think you should. I think they should go all out on this one, or I guess all in is the pay-per-view term, because this match is a big deal for tag team wrestling. I remember the tweets, the Revival and the Young Bucks saying one day we'll face each other and the fans rejoice. And I don't know if there's a tag team match that gets bigger than this that you'll have in front of this massive crowd against two all-time great tag teams. I think you have to go all out and make it all in and make it one of the best tag team matches of all time. Anything less would be a disappointment.
I agree, which is why, even though it's intriguing to me, I don't really want to see a draw. I feel like if you want this to be like going all in, like if you want this to be, I feel like this would be a great grand finale to the Young Bucks versus FTR. Like, while I get it, and I do think a draw would work if you want to continue this story, if you want this to be like the finale of this story, I feel like you need a winner. Well, it really depends on what they want, because I do think a draw would work if this is to set up a later CMFTR versus the Elite feud, where there's still beef between them when you have the eventual trios match. But Young Bucks versus FTR official for the pay-per-view. That's a great match for All In. But that's not the main event of All In, because the main event is MJF versus Adam Cole. How's that for a segue? We go to an MJF Adam Cole Bro Session, where they go to a trampoline park. MJF is as confused as I am. Adam Cole is like jumping around like a 5-year-old. And then MJF, I'll be honest, this was like the weakest segment for me at that point. Like at that point in the segment, I was like, okay, this is probably the worst MJF and Adam Cole segment so far. He's jumping around like a child. He's the number one contender to the World Championship. But then, not Adam Cole, MJF saved it by throwing dodgeballs at children while talking about how they're adopted, which was incredibly funny to me. Then they kind of both agreed to throw a dodgeball at one child who was flipping Adam Cole and MJF off. It was a really fun segment. Probably the weakest so far, but I still found it fun. What do you think?
Oh, I love this segment. The chemistry, the ridiculousness between these two. I know what you were saying about Cole jumping up and down on a trampoline. It's a little silly, but I feel like that's kind of the relationship between the two. So in the context, it works. It's not just like Roman Reigns bouncing around on a trampoline like an idiot for no reason. Like, I feel like in the their characters, I feel like it makes sense. Them, or even just them being at the trampoline park and MJF being like, "What the heck, man? Why are we doing this?" But and then MJF pelting the dodgeballs at the kids, just throwing absolutely nasty insults, like saying he slept with the person's mom and all these crazy things. I don't know. These segments are just I enjoy the lighthearted, more comedic segments in wrestling. And MJF and Adam Cole's chemistry is just off the walls.
We'll talk about this more later because I do have quite a bit of thoughts about the MGF and Adam Cole story. But for now, we're gonna go back to the order of the show. Blackpool Combat Club have a promo backstage, and I'm gonna let you take the lead here. But this was a really well done promo for me personally.
Oh yeah, with the promo, they were talking about the parking lot brawl and bro, just real quick because we don't review Rampage. They absolutely vandalized Stu's car to a destructive amount, stabbing the fork into her tires, breaking the windows, and then they talked about they're making fun of Pac because he's not going to be at All In. Which, by the way, poor Pac. He came back for like 2 weeks, and maybe I know there's obviously changed plans because of injuries and certain things that obviously Pac coming back from injury, it might not be the smartest idea to put him in a long blood and guts match and then 2 days later have him wrestle like a 20-minute match with Claudio. For someone coming off an injury, that might not be the smartest. But yeah, the promo, I thought it was a good promo talking about them and the best friends.
Poor Pac, I agree. Like, I'm devastated for him personally. But what a brilliant way to handle the injury. Claudio taking credit for injuring him and taking him off Wembley. The biggest.
When's he showing up on Ring of Honor? Damn it. You're the world champion.
He's going with that Brock Lesnar schedule. He's a Paul Heyman guy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Kind of works though because he's a heel.
Yeah. But the Pac thing is genuinely brilliant because, as I was saying, taking him off Wembley, like the biggest show in arguably UK history. And don't fact check me on that. I'm not like a traditional wrestling fan historian, but like it's the biggest show in at least the past in the 21st century, I would assume.
No, I think it's officially the biggest one. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, and like Pac, someone who's like, this is gonna be a bit of a funny sentence, but he's kind of known for being British in the sense that he has to miss a lot of time due to the fact he lives in the UK. So this is like someone you kind of associate with the show, and him missing the show is devastating. But when he manages to come back, I feel like you have a genuine, huge feud on your hands between Pac and Claudio. Like something which you could segue into a pay-per-view match if you really wanted it to. Like Pac could be the guy, you mentioned Claudio's Ring of Honor title run. He could be the guy to dethrone him if it's not Eddie Kingston.
Maybe I think it's gonna be Eddie.
I would probably prefer that because I'm an Eddie mark, but if it's Pac, I'm not complaining because I think you have a great story there. We move on to arguably, no, not arguably, this is definitively my favorite thing on the show. Rob Van Dam versus Jack Perry. Rob Van Dam has put an end to the washed allegations. He still got it. What did you think about this match?
This match definitely alleviated my concerns that of that Impact run that he had, which was just terrible. The whole Katie Forbes thing, is weird. I don't know. But yeah, I thought RVD was well prepared and looked really good in my opinion here. just hitting all his stuff. Clean monkey flip. What's it called? Like where he does the spin kick into the like barricade. That was like nasty, but like
I thought
he had a
Jack
lot of
Perry broke
precision.
his back. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, that was the amount of precision that he had on that one. It just that looked amazing, and I think I liked in the match too. It just felt like RVD was absolutely just beating up Jungle Boy, like the whole match. Like he basically kind of punishing Jungle Boy and teaching him a lesson in ways. And then I guess before you go into the finish, what did you? Obviously, you're big RVD guy. What did you think of the match?
I was concerned about this because of the same reasons you had. I watched his Impact run and it wasn't very good. However, I think Rob Van Dam now falls under the category of someone like a Randy Orton, in the sense that if he doesn't care, he's not going to try. If he does care, he can produce a banger. And this was the best Rob Van Dam match I have seen in years. Better than his Impact run. Better than his like last WWE run, arguably. Like, this was a great match, and like, honestly, I feel like after this match, AEW should sign Rob Van Dam. Like, not like have him be a regular on the show, because you don't want him to take time from the younger talents, but have him be in like a Dustin Rhodes position, for example, where he occasionally has a match on a Dynamite against this like star, a bit of a dream match, but not like an insane dream match. And yeah, like just these fun matches on Dynamite, like once a month, once every 2 months. He can come in, he can maybe win a match on Rampage or something if you don't want him to lose every match. But yeah, I feel like you could do some really fun stuff with Rob Van Dam if you were to sign him. And other than that, I mean, great match. I think Jack Perry probably should have gotten more offense in. I don't like the fact that he just had to like win in such a cheaty way. Like I get that, but he should have had more offense before he cheated. I don't mind him cheating, but him getting his ass kicked and then winning by cheating just makes it look like 50-year-old Rob Van Dam is way better than him. Like you have to have
Yeah,
your
or even just the roll up pin to win. I mean, protecting RVD so much would almost have you think that they might run it back and do another match. Because they did protect RVD a lot, and he definitely did. Like even by the end of the match, he still like felt like special, like that unique presence that could come back and do another big match spot. So I don't know if that's in the cards. I mean, he definitely, in my opinion, his performance tonight at least made a convincing case of offering him some sort of contract or deal.
Rob Van Dam versus Kenny Omega. Who says no? But
Okay, that's a good point.
overall, great match. I would have had Jack Perry
Oh,
get. Yeah.
one more thing to note: no Hook. Hook. I don't believe. I don't. Hook wasn't involved in this, right?
No, he wasn't. I don't. I feel
I
like
was. I was a bit surprised. I thought he would come out after and like, I don't know,
I,
do something.
I still feel like the direction is Hook, but I think that's gonna be a, like all out, not all in. Unless they want like the big
Yeah,
Hook wins pop.
would you like to see them bring RVD back for All In and do this match again?
There's two sides to this. The one side is my brain, which is like, no. I feel like you can have bigger matches than another rematch. I feel like they need more like one time. If my brain is saying this match is a great match, but if you wanted to do it at all in, it should have been the first match.
But then your heart is saying, I want to see the whole fucking show at Wembley Stadium.
That is correct. As someone who's going to this show, to see Rob Van Dam would be like a dream for me. So, personally, like, the cynical part of me, like the booker, is gonna be like, no, that's a bad choice. But I'm not gonna lie. If they announce him for this show, I don't care if I'm gonna be called a mark. I'm going to love this. Like, it's Rob Van Dam. I'm gonna see live. Are you kidding me? But yeah, overall, great stuff. Really enjoyed it. Jack Ray should have gotten more offense in, but still pretty good stuff overall. And Hashtag Sandro Van Dam. We move on to the Lucha Bros and the man who still is their manager for some reason, Alex Abrahantes. They're cutting a promo and they talk about the Pac injury. They talk about what the Death Triangle symbol means to them, how it's a brotherhood. Phoenix calls the Blackpool Combat Club the Blackpool Coward Club, and he started acting like he's like super clever when he said that. Like he started like smirking like he's like this Jimmy Neutron level genius. And then
he probably thought of that all day.
yeah. And then there's a Pentagon who got like a fairly solid promo, like nothing noteworthy. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like remember much from it, but I remember it was pretty solid. I'm a big fan of Pentagon, so like he could start speaking in a language I don't understand and I'm gonna still see like that was like amazing because it's Pentagon. He has charisma, he has pretty much everything I like about a wrestler. So the more Pentagon on my screen the better. I don't really have much notes about this. What about you?
Yeah, not much notes either. I mean, I guess you could say with Penta and Phoenix cutting the promo, that it kind of renders Alex Abrahantes a bit useless because he's like supposed to be the translator. I think they have to establish Alex Abrahantes with just one pair of luchadors because he can't just be like the spokesperson for every luchador in the company. You know, he came out with Commander and Vikingo. I don't remember if he came out with Gravity, but if he did, I wouldn't be surprised. You can't just have this guy be the manager of every like luchador wrestler in the company. You know, that wouldn't make sense, or it doesn't make sense.
He's gonna be the manager of the Lucha Bros. Like you saw this promo, they speak pretty good English, and they also have Pac with them. I feel like you should establish him with one person, maybe someone who doesn't understand English very well.
Maybe Commander.
Maybe Commander, yeah. Andrade still hasn't really nailed English. Like, he has quite a thick accent, but I feel at the same time that works for him. Like, that thick accent just makes him sound really badass. And
a little like Scott Hall, like, where he's just like, little kid, work for stink. It's just like, it's bad English, but I weirdly enjoy it.
Yeah, he just sounds cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm a big Andrade fan.
Roosh better.
I disagree, but I'm still a big fan of Roosh.
Next debate video. Roosh versus Andrade.
We move on to MJF in the ring with Adam Cole Bebe. I'm gonna give the ball over to you. What did you think of this segment overall? What do you think of the development with Roderick Strong later? I have a lot to say about that, but I'm gonna let you get your shit off first.
So, I really enjoyed the segment. I've been enjoying MJF's babyface stuff. The first thing was MJF addressing the obvious, his previous insults about the Midwest being very mid. He was being over the top and ridiculous. And then probably my favorite part of this segment was like when MJF thought that Adam Cole wanted to do a promo battle in the lead up to the match, and he absolutely just starts cooking Adam Cole. Like that one line about Hulk Hogan was just so out of pocket, saying MJF was like so skinny and white, Hogan would snort it, and it's like it's so ridiculous. But it was out of pocket, but it was awesome. And then the segment kind of took an unexpected turn as Adam Cole brought back up the tag titles, but not the AEW tag titles, the ROH tag titles, which won. If you would have told any of us, like even like 3-6 months ago, that MJF would be fighting for a Ring of Honor title, you would be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? But so it looks like the direction from here, Aussie Open versus Cole and MJF for the ROH title, but on Wembley as well, which shocked me because I thought if they're gonna fight for the tag titles, they got All Out the week after, they might need another match. But MJF was what's it called? He ended up agreeing to do the thing on the 0 hour. And do you want to take it from here with Roderick Strong coming out?
I will say before Strong, man, Aussie Open versus Adam Cole is gonna and MJF is gonna be a great match. But it's really overcomplicating things, and the only direction I really see this going in, because
It's also risky.
Also risky, because like, what if someone gets injured?
Exactly. Yeah.
And not just that, but if MJF or Adam Cole turns in this segment, more specifically Adam Cole, in the pre-show to lead up to the main show, I would not be surprised, but I also would not like it very much. Because the turn should happen in the main event. If a turn were to happen, if a turn doesn't happen, that's cool too. And
also, if Aussie Open wins, then one half of your main event's getting pinned.
And if MJF and Adam Cole win, then that means your main event is going to be between two tag champions, which is just really confusing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they should have saved it for All Out, but I don't know what they got planned.
Yeah, I feel like this is a fine idea, but just the wrong timing, like the absolute wrong timing. Plus, as an Aussie Open fan, I don't want to see them lose the tag titles so soon.
Yeah, I agree.
But nonetheless, Roderick Strong would come out, and I just have to say, what are they doing with Roddy, man? Like, I love this story, but Roddy Strong, he's one of the best wrestlers in your company, and he comes off as like kind of a bitch. I'm gonna be honest, there's not really much more to say. He comes out, he's like, Adam, and he's like whining and complaining about how he's supposed to be Adam Cole's friend. And then MJF starts like cooking the absolute hell out of Roderick Strong. And then Roddy's like, how are you letting him talk to me like this? And then he's like, the Kingdom are right. And then the Kingdom come, and that Kingdom come, and he hugs Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, still in his little neck brace. They walk off. Adam Cole gets mad at MJF. Some tension there between them after that. MJF says it's cool, but you can tell by the look on his face that it is not cool. What did you think of this? Before you go on, I'm going to just like kind of lay the land a bit. Jesus Christ is not the way to use Roderick Strong. Like, I get it, but I feel like they're making him too much of a, like, weirdly obsessed. Like, Mickey James to Trish Stratus levels obsessed. And that's a fine character, but I don't think that character works with Roderick Strong, because he's just not the best actor. He just comes across as really cringy, to be honest. And I love Roderick Strong, so I don't want to say that. What about you?
Well, some of it is Roddy's acting ability, because I think storyline-wise, I think it's been that dynamic happening in the background while Adam Cole and MJF become these great friends. Has been interesting. I think some of it's just Roddy's ability to effectively play that role, and then also the neck brace is ridiculous. Like, if you watch that collision against Samoa Joe, I mean, he got power slammed on a chair. Moxley gets like it's like fork stabbed into his skull, and he's like fine the next week. So I don't know, but I think with this segment, I do find it interesting. I don't know exactly how it's all going to play in, if Adam Cole's going to align himself with the Kingdom and they form this faction or whatever. But then that would indicate Adam Cole wins the title, and I don't think that's going to happen. So there's a bunch of different ways. I do actually like Roderick Strong with the Kingdom. I think that will be a good pairing, even after whatever feud this is. You can have them go down in the go to the trios division and hustle there, because they need more trios to contend for that title. Not just throw random trio in and just have them face somebody. So I'm intrigued though with this part of the story. As much I love the Kingdom, Roderick Strong, good wrestler, really good wrestler. But I think this is my concern, where they may mess up the story with this.
It's overcomplicating.
This element, this dynamic.
And Roderick Strong is not the actor to kind of pull this off that Adam Cole and MJF are. Like, let's be honest, if MJF and Adam Cole weren't as good as they are, this storyline wouldn't have worked at all. But because they are so good, they can make that transition, and Tony Khan knows that. However, Roderick Strong isn't that guy when it comes to acting. He's a great wrestler, but when you're having him be like using his acting skills and not his wrestling skills in your main event storyline, then it just comes across as a bit weird. And like it's cool to see the Kingdom get TV time. Like I'm a big fan of the Kingdom, but them being in like a main, like your biggest storyline of all time, arguably, in the sense I don't like you the best storyline of all time, but it's like the storyline that's headlining your biggest show of all time, and the Kingdom are involved, who have not been on AEW TV in how many months? Like it's cool to see them on TV, but I just don't think this was the role to do it. Personally, I feel like Roderick Strong should have maybe not been involved in this storyline. Maybe you have the Kingdom kind of have Roddy join the Kingdom in like another storyline where they're just like convincing him like, hey, you're not really doing anything. Adam Cole left you for MJF, not to have it bother him as much as it is. Join us. Let's cook in the trios division and just have them have great matches on Rampage, Dynamite, and Collision. I feel like that could have worked more.
So how would you feel if Adam Cole turns on MJF and like leads this new kingdom with Roderick Strong, or like the Undisputed Kingdom, I guess would be the name of it? How would you feel about that? I'm mixed on it, honestly. I don't think the turn should happen at all, and I just feel like it's too soon. I think people love it. I think that they should keep that hot momentum going on.
Once again, we go to brain versus heart, because my brain is saying you need like, I feel like it would make for a great story. Like MJF lets his guard down for the first time, and then he gets stabbed in the back. And it makes you sympathize with MJF so much, because like this was the first person you could fully trust after years, after an entire life basically of getting bullied, abused, cheated on, and the first person he lets his guard down with betrays him, and you can kind of see MJF has this like existential crisis over it. I feel like that could be good TV, but my heart wants them to stay together. Personally, controversial opinion, I think the turn would be good if the plan is after to have MJF be your top babyface and MJF versus Adam Cole your top program. I feel like Adam Cole can get an insane amount of heat. I think MJF would be a great babyface and like maybe starts a stable with people who he kind of has this like on and off relationship with, like trying to convince people back to his side who he's kind of hurt to kind of help him. And it's just like him kind of making amends with the likes of Wardlow and FTR and maybe even Shawn Spears, like whoever, maybe even CM Punk. And like maybe not all of those names, but it's like just mentioning names that you could kind of make amends with. I think preferably reforming the Pinnacle as like a one-time face faction to take on this like Undisputed Era-esque faction, or not even an Undisputed Era, it's more like a Kingdom-esque faction, because Adam Cole was a part of the Kingdom. I feel like that could be good TV, but I don't know. I
would like to see them stay together longer, even if the eventual goal or plan is to have this Undisputed Kingdom with Roddy, Taven Bennett. Maybe Kyle O'Reilly comes back. I mean, you can even consider Fish coming back in this Undisputed Kingdom faction. I still think this tag team angle is just so great. The just natural chemistry MJF and Adam Cole have, you can't just manufacture that and just easily recreate it with some other program. I would like to see them go into the fall, and if you still want to do the Undisputed Kingdom, you can even have Roddy have a match with Cole or MJF. I would like to see MJF and Cole go into the fall, and if you still want to do it, then maybe have Adam Cole get like increasingly jealous of MJF with his run as world title, seeing him beat CM Punk and unify the titles to the point where like Cole gets jealous and is like, oh man, I want to get ahead of MJF, and then Cole turns, and then you do it maybe with the winter or going into spring.
Yeah, overall, great segment, although there are things I would have liked to improve, like Roderick Strong. But we move on to the Lucha Brothers versus the Blackpool Combat Club of Jon Moxley and Claudio Castignoli. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, I thought it was another good tag team match between these two teams. There's been they faced off 2 weeks ago. I thought this was better than the one 2 weeks ago. Moxley and Claudio. I guess there's one note. I feel like Moxley and Claudio. Now it's they wrestled team together on Rampage. Now here, I mean, if they wanted to go on a little bit of a tag team run, I wouldn't mind it because I think they put on some good performances. As for things that happened in the match, I mean, it's tough to say because this was a very, action packed affair. I remember, the Lucha Bros going for the super kicks. Claudio gets out of the way. Claudio, a big European uppercut. A lot of action. I enjoyed it. Zoned out a little because I was, talking with someone at the time, but I thought it was a fun match. What did you think of it?
Fun match, weird finish, but we'll get into that later. Let's talk about the match first. Lucha Brothers, they kind of have the same offense whenever they wrestle, but it's such fun offense that I can't really complain. The backstabber, the rolling into moves. They have a unique style, but a style that you kind of know what you're gonna get when you watch Lucha Brothers match. They have trademark moves, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. I'm a big Pentagon fan. I'm a big Phoenix fan.
Phoenix is better than Pentagon.
I disagree. Claudio having a fantastic run in AEW so far. Really coming into his own as a part of the Blackpool Combat Club in my opinion.
Definitely.
And yeah, fun match overall. I think BCC were the right winners. We've been complaining quite a bit about how they haven't really been getting wins. So 2 wins in a row on Rampage and on here. Starting to get that momentum up after some big losses before. The finish, however, it was a good finish. The problem is you didn't see it. Because they had a roll-up. But the camera missed when Moxley took off Pentagon's mask. So it just looked like you were watching Phoenix and Claudio go at it. You segue to the ring, roll up, 1, 2, 3. It made sense what actually happened. He took the mask off, then he rolled him up, but you didn't see the mask get taken off, so it was just so abrupt, and I feel like AEW really need to work on their camera work.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just this is not the first time with the, I guess, production team where something like this has happened. I guess a recent example is the Blood and Guts finish, which was actually really creative and I think is actually brilliant. But when you're watching on TV, it didn't really come across because Yuta's being choked out to death with this chain, and Moxley surrenders to save Yuta. That's a great story, but the way that it was shot and the way that it was put over on commentary, the finish didn't really go over as well as TV with the execution of the idea. With this finish, it was, very similar of just, the camera not really picking it up. So, I mean, obviously they have to work on it because they are coming up with some good finishes. They just got to, execute with the camera.
There's a pretty good attack after the match as it's a normal post-match attack. There's the usual BCC brutality, but the real thing to note, and something that I think will come up in storylines later, Claudio Castignoli wears the mask of Pentagon. Looks so cool in it, but nonetheless.
that was the highlight. I have that saved onto my phone. Claudio with the Penta mask, just double middle finger. I don't know. You think this leads to a multi-man at All In?
I think Moxley versus OC is the direction.
Well, if you think Moxley OC is the direction, I was thinking Penta had a big match on the first All In against Kenny Omega. On this All In, maybe he has another big match. Maybe you can do Penta versus Claudio for the Ring of Honor World title. Because, I mean, historically, I think it would be a huge deal, the Ring of Honor World title defended at Wembley Stadium, considering all the smaller buildings the Ring of Honor title has, the legacy of different holders. I think it would be amusing historically for that title to be defended there.
On Zero Hour, I could definitely see it. I don't think it's gonna make the main card, but I could definitely see that on Zero Hour. Maybe Zero Hour can just be like the Spring of Honor tribute.
Bro, 0 Hour, that if that match gets added to, the 0 Hour is stacked as hell. Aussie Open and versus MJF and Adam Cole as well.
And I'm going live. Let's go.
Nice.
We move on next to a Kenny Omega promo with Alex Marvez. I have my thoughts on Alex Marvez, but I say them nearly every week, so I'm just gonna save it this week. With random backstage scoops, man. I guess
He's always so nosy.
he is. What a. I'm not gonna slander Alex Marvez's name anymore. I'm sure he's a great person in real life.
Seems like a nice guy.
But yeah, he's talking to Kenny Omega, that dastardly Alex Marvez, and he's like, Omega, what's next for you? And Omega says he's gonna answer these questions next week with Jim Ross in a sit-down interview, and specifically who he's going to face at All In, or at least like more build up to like what's his plan at All In. Is he gonna face anyone? Will it be answered next week? Who knows? But what did you think of this segment? And more importantly, who do you think Omega's going to face at All In? Do you think it's going to be Takeshita or someone else?
It's intriguing. The segment, it was just I guess planting a seed, building intrigue for next week's interview with Jim Ross. I mean, Marvez wanting a scoop. I mean, what part of Jim Ross is interviewing Omega next week do you not understand? If there's a scoop, it's going to be in the JR interview.
Yeah, screw you, Marvez.
But who is he going to face? I don't know. Takeshita, that would be a massive match. There's obviously the potential that it could be Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega 3. Which the tricky thing about that match is, from my understanding, AEW and New Japan only agreed to 2 matches, one with Omega winning, one with Ospreay winning. But G1 is, I think, starting next week, any New Japan talent that's going to be on All In can start coming, because the G1 is going to be wrapping up. So I think if they want to start, get things rolling for Will Ospreay and Omega, they can. Though I think the match to go, if I had to pick, was Takeshita against Omega. Though if they go the tag route, which I don't think they should, because they already have a lot of tag team matches on the show, as we'll get into another one in the next segment. But they could do Omega and Ibushi versus Jericho and Takeshita. Though that seems like a TV match to me, honestly.
I was gonna say, I don't think it's gonna happen, but something that would be really goddamn cool: Kenny Omega versus Okada in Wembley Stadium. I don't think it's gonna happen, but my god, it just came to my head, and that would be insane, like all-time match in the history of professional wrestling, insane. But nonetheless,
historical value, that'd be great.
Tony can't make it happen. Nonetheless, we're going to talk about the Mogul Embassy segment next. The Mogul Embassy, they're in the ring, and Swerve's like, I told you we were taking over. You didn't believe me, huh? Did you? Heh. that kind of thing. Swerve's great. AR Fox is great. Like, everyone in this is great. Brian Cage got the Ultimate Warrior face paint on. So they're all kind of talking, and they call out Darby. Darby comes out. He says, and this was like pretty damn deep. He talks about how he had to leave because the only person who could help AR Fox is himself, and AR Fox was a lost cause, in his opinion, which like is really deep storytelling. Like, genuinely, like, someone you consider like family leaving you, and like you don't know who to side with, because Darby's making good points, but AR Fox is making good points. But Darby kind of segues into like, hey, you have new friends, AR. I have friends too. Sting comes out. He absolutely demolishes everybody. They all run away, scatter. Then he has the bat to Swerve's neck, points at the All In sign, and it's official, at All In. My boy, AR Fox, getting a Wembley Stadium match, getting his due. AR Fox and Swerve Strickland versus Sting and Darby Allin in a coffin match. We're going to rewind back. What did you think of the segment? And then, what did you think of the match announced?
Yeah, the segment, I think Darby Allin and Swerve and AR Fox, the way that they've been telling the story, I think it's been really well done in the way that just execution.
Shout out to Prince Nana too.
Yeah, no, Nana's been doing some really good work. He's been working on every show. He's on Dynamite, Rampage, Ring of Honor, Collision. Nana will go anywhere. He's earning his paycheck. But yeah, I think the way the whole story's been done with Darby and Swerve and Fox and Nick Wayne, I think they've all done really well with the storytelling and playing off real or more realistic type events that happen. As for the match, when I first heard the announcement, for some reason I thought it was going to be Swerve Strickland versus Sting in a singles match. But then obviously they cut to the match announcement, which I think it will be a cool match, the coffin match. It'll be interesting to see how they do that in a execute that in a tag team setting. And I guess lastly, to your point, it's amazing to see AR Fox's elevation up the card through these past few weeks. I mean, in July, before that Orange Cassidy match, he wrestled on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view pre-show against Shane Taylor. Now this man's about to be on pay-per-view against Sting in front of like 80,000 people. Like the transformation, the rise, the push of AR Fox is something worth of note.
I take full credit. Tony Khan watches this podcast. Tony Khan follows me on Twitter. He found out I'm going to Wembley and he was like, Cosk is a good guy. I'm going to give him what he wants. And he made this match official just for me. Thank you, Tony Khan. Tony Khan is my best friend. We move on after this incredible segment, and it's only incredible because AR Fox and Swerve Strickland are going to be at the show I'm going to, so it's the segment of the year, simply for that. I'm exaggerating, of course, but people don't understand sarcasm. We move on to Anna Jay versus Shida, the main event of the show. What did you think of this match? And also, while we're talking about Shida, what do you think of the tournament they announced?
Well, which one do you want to talk about first, the tournament or the match?
Tournament.
Yeah, as for the tournament, honestly, it's kind of unnecessary. Like, you can just, like, set up the match without doing that. Like, maybe have, like, there's different ways to book it. You don't need to do a tournament for everything. Like, AEW ROH, AEW/ROH, there's so many tournaments. You don't need to spam them. Like, you literally could have done, like, this is just one potential, but you can go down a billion different routes to set up a four-way. Like, you could have had Saraya face, like, Britt Baker for the number one contendership. And, like, there's a draw or something. So they both get it. It's a triple threat. And then Tony Storm is like, well, hey, I want my rematch clause. I'm good enough. I actually thought she got a really good promo on Collision to the four-way. But there's, like, a billion different ways you can set up. I think the tournament, it's overload. And then even if you look at the bracket, it's pretty obvious who's going to win. It's not like there's intrigue who's going to Wembley Stadium. Like, Saraya is obviously going to win. Britt Baker's going to beat the Bunny. I'd be surprised if Sky Blue and the Bunny were going to Wembley.
Is going to Wembley. The Bunny will win the AEW Women's Championship in the main event. You heard it here first. Scoops.
In the main event.
Scoop. Yeah, Adam Cole and she wins the world title.
Pinning Saraya for heel heat.
Because everybody loves Saraya, clearly.
Dude, I telling you, they're gonna cheer Saraya. I think
won't.
Saraya might win. Really? Well, I think it's in her home country of England, but I actually believe Saraya's got a good chance of winning that title. I know you don't like to hear that.
I don't.
But sometimes reality is hard to hear. But as for the match, I mean, I don't really have too much to say about this. I don't like this in the main event because it's just, to me, it's not an actual main event match. Like, I know it's in that last spot, but I mean, what was it? Only like, 10 minutes. Anna Jay, had the Queen Slayer. I actually thought Shida was gonna do like the the choke. Like, Anna Jay has a very successful choke, and then the Shida kind of like turns it into like a roll up pin where it's like trapped. Like, I guess like Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane, for example, the way their match ended. Like, you have the choke and then the pin. Uh, Anna Jay kicked out of the Falcon Arrow, which I was actually a bit surprised, only because I thought that was the finish, because it was like 9:58 Eastern. But yeah, nothing much to say. It wasn't a great match, though. I also don't think the women were Shida and Anna Jay were necessarily given the amount of time. A lot of, at least, not for international fans, but for people watching on TV, there's a big commercial break. Um, so yeah, Shida retains. I mean, I'm glad Shida's getting a push, but this was not an actual main event match, in my opinion.
For the tournament, I'm gonna talk about that for a bit. I agree with you, like, completely. And if I were to predict a winner, I do think Shida will retain, or at least I hope Shida will retain. When it comes to the match, I don't have much to say about the match. I do have a lot to say about the finish, though. Cool Hand Luke, like, there was a lot of...
Like, that was weird.
Yeah, he, like, kind of slid something through her hand, and, like, she didn't kick out. And at first I thought he was, like, holding her hands down, and it was like a heel turn, but, like, is Anna Jay versus Cool Hand Luke like your next program? So, like, clearly not. So I don't really know what was going on there. I feel like this was just a mess of a finish. Decent match, but, like, nothing crazy, not a main event.
Well, also felt like they rushed to the finish a little bit, where I was like, I don't know, like Shida was just kind of hitting all these big moves at the end. Which, I mean, I know that's what happens at the end of a match, but it's just like, it's kind of like, oh shoot, we're about to go off the air, do all this stuff,
Yeah, and, like, you could have had a lot of other things main event. Like, I'm happy Shida got the main event, but maybe she should have had this against another person, maybe. Not Anna Jay, no disrespect to Anna Jay, but she's not really a main event player, in my opinion. You could have easily...
I guess in hindsight, if I was structuring, you can make the argument for Young Bucks and Hardy's main eventing, even though the match, like, you look at the match tonight, it was not a main event worthy match. Like, the Hardys are, as we stated earlier, not the team. But I think, like, just like going off the air with FTR and the Young Bucks facing off, I think would be a much better closure to the show.
I would say RVD Jack Perry, but that did not end well. So, like, what was the most fun match of the night? Maybe Claudio and Moxley versus Lucha Brothers with the mask.
Yeah, I guess with Claudio doing the double middle fingers with wearing Penta's mask, that could have been a amusing show ending.
So, we've covered the entire show. Overall, what would you rate it out of 10?
Out of 10? That's a tough one. I like the show. I think I was interested from the start to the beginning. A lot of, finally, the build to All In is coming up. I guess it was I guess since it kept my attention from the beginning to end, and I think Dynamite has had an increase in quality in the past few months, at least. I think maybe since Blood and Guts, ever since they got out of Canada, I feel like the Dynamites have really started to pick up. Well, yeah, ironically, ever since we started reviewing the Dynamites, I feel like they've started to pick up. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
I would give it, looking at the card, probably 6.5, which is above average. I mean, there was no standalone shocking moment, standalone crazy moment, but not every week has to have one. And this was
just real quick, maybe now I'm thinking maybe like a 7.7, 7.8, because I did really enjoy the show, but yeah, it probably does deserve to be docked at least a little bit.
Probably for the main event, I'd say. Like, I think the main event, it's how you leave them, folks, and they didn't leave them with a with a good taste in your mouth. But I hope we left you with a good taste in your mouth. That sounds really bad. No. Okay.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come. You know what I meant. Thank you for joining us. I've been Cosk. I've been joined by Y2. Have a good day. Subscribe.
Like and subscribe.